Our next speaker has no name card, but he has a lot to tell us. He's Tom Alyea. Tom was with WFAA-TV at the time, and I don't know where all he was that day, but I know he was in the depository building shooting on almost every floor, and I know he was very many other places too. Tom, fill us in.
Well, a little background. I got the lead-off position from assignment editor Burke, who coordinated the thing. And I was to meet the president in Fort Worth. You don't meet the president, really. But he was 4 hours late. After midnight, he pulled up in front of the Texas Hotel. The Secret Service people had all the news, photographers, cameramen, and photographers. I'd like to bring that up right now. When you read about a camera or photographer, a cameraman is a movie camera, a photographer is a still, if that'll help you. All right. The president comes in, when he gets out of the limousine, instead of walking into the hotel, he walks across the street. There's people over there. Our barricades came down. Every newsman said all the rules are gone. We follow the president. The Secret Service started bumping into one another, grabbing at us, running up to the side of the president, trying to get ahead of him, trying to discourage him from going into the crowd across the street. He went in. We filmed this. Said a few words, and he went in. That was Thursday night. That night, a couple of us went to the press club. I was taking some shots inside. Might be a special feature, and if so, I'll need some expansion footage. There were about 2 or 3 fellows there that were sitting at a table. The reason I mention this is because of this FBI business and Secret Service people in the press club drinking. There were these people, they were well behaved. I didn't know who they were. I shot them with a camera, you understand. And winding the camera, it broke. Here's a newsman covering the presidential visit with a broken camera. Quickly, I borrowed one from our stringer. The next day, I'll go through this. This is boring, but it helps in the background. The next morning, the same thing happened. When he comes down, instead of going to the breakfast, he goes over and meets the people across the way. And we all hustle on the Secret Service. They panic again, and he goes back, and we wait on the camera. He flies to Dallas. We drive the news unit back to Dallas, and the fellow who was assisting me, Ray Johns, and I, we were coming in Commerce. We were parked on Commerce Street, inbound, on the way back to WFA with the film that I had shot of the president in Fort Worth. Of course, I covered his speech and everything inside. Our assignment was over. We were directly opposite where the president was hit. If I had turned my head to the left, I would have probably seen the whole thing. I did not see it. I did not hear any shots. I think the first thing I heard was when the 3 radios in the news unit were blasting, and an excited voice yelled through one of the radios. The shots had been fired at the president, not these exact words. All units around the presidential motorcade, I suppose. Code 3, Parkland Hospital.
Excuse me just 1 second. Is this mic working at all?
My mic is not working?
No, mine is not working, but could you tell us how you got in the depository? I think that's so important, that what you saw in there and how you got in there and how fast you got in there.
I just arrived at that.
Well, for the sake of time, let's arrive.
Okay. All right, I'll speed on. So I heard this. I looked at Elm in Houston. I grabbed my partner's camera. Mine was broken. 3 rolls of film. That gave me 500 rolls of film, and we got to hurry. I can't explain the other 2 right now. I raced across. I see the people rushing around and running for cover. I film on the way as I cross Main Street and toward Elm Street. And people are diving. People are jumping on top of kids. I think they're hit. I start filming them. And I'm looking for policemen. They're not around. One's running this way, one's running this way. Some people are running toward the railroad tracks. Some are running toward the monument area. Is that fast enough?
You're doing well.
I better hurry up. I'll leave out a whole bunch of stuff and we'll just get right. All right. So I thought there's nothing going on here. I remembered the Elman Houston bet. Okay, I'll go to Elman Houston. I go up there and there's a crowd of people there. A couple of cops, one car. There's no action here. So I said, the police have to be someplace. Usually when somebody shoots the President of the United States, there's some kind of activity there. Or where he was. There was none. All right. One guy was looking up. I look up, following his gaze. I said, this to myself, this is why there are no policemen. They're all in the building. I rushed to the building. I hit the door of the building. At the same time, 15, I don't know, Kent Biffle can probably give you a better idea because Biffle was crawling up my back as we went through the door. And I heard a fellow say, shut the door, lock it, nobody in and out. I'm waiting to see if he heard the same thing, because I'm sure that he'll be talking to you. So Biffle and I were the only two newsmen in. Biffle had his pencil and I had my camera. I followed the people up the search team and up the elevators, 4th floor, 5th floor. We go around the 5th floor, all guns were out. Big burly guy, well, not a big burly guy. One fella comes up and says, what are you doing here? Well, I'm with the press. No, we don't want the press on. We just get down. I turned and walked toward the stairway with my camera down. And go around a couple of boxes and fall in behind. And this, I found out later, he was some kind of a federal man. Now, whether he was Secret Service, I won't go into that. Sorry. God, I didn't think I had to run through this fast. All right, on the 5th floor, I'm going to get questions on this. I was walking with this officer, plainclothesman, and we see a sack on the floor and a Dr. Pepper bottle. I said, 5th floor. He hit it with his toe. Some chicken bones came out of it. Oh, I'm not going fast enough. Some chicken bones came out of it, and I was interested because it was the first thing so far I'd had to shoot. So I got some close-up shots of the sack, the bottle, and the chicken bones. And he walked on because at that time they were not interested in 3-day-old dried chicken bones. And because they were looking for somebody that was going to be shooting back at them any second, they thought. We all thought. I run to the window and I walked to the window. It was open, and I shoot down and got pictures of the newsmen that were locked out, waiting to get in, the police officers who were arresting people and carting them off, and then joined the team again. There was nothing but the chicken bones, dried chicken bones on the 5th floor. Then we went up to the 6th floor. And get up there about, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half, something like that. Fellow said, Captain Fritz. And everybody said, come here. We walked over there. The fellow had found, you know his name, I won't go into it. He'd found the barricade and the window, open window with the boxes in the window. And I filmed the barricade and I filmed the boxes in the window the way they were before anybody touched them. And the boxes were placed in a particular, very interesting way that alters a lot of people's concept, because these were the only pictures that were ever recorded of the way the boxes were actually placed in the window. Because before our friends downstairs with the still cameras and other cameras were allowed into the building. Shall I stop?
I was going to ask you if you saw the gun. Did you actually see the rifle and shoot it?
That's more
Could you tell?
I guess in the boxes, though, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, they tore up the arrangement and dusting for fingerprints and stacked them on top of one another. So the pictures you see of the barricade and all this, the barricade was torn down. From the barricade, you could not see the window. But we'll go through that. All right. And we went to we secured that floor, went to the 7th floor. Nothing there. We went to the roof. And for those who are going to ask a question, no, there was no rifle on the roof. There was no rifle on the roof. We looked everywhere. We came back down to the 7th floor. We researched the 7th floor. We came back to the, we were retracing our steps. This was...
Tom,
Mr. Grumpy.
Forgive me, I'm going to have to stop you because we're going to have to leave some room for some questions.
Yeah,
you brought up some things that probably people will want to ask questions, so let's have some time for them.
All right, I'll just stop and maybe we'll talk about finding the rifle later. Huh?
All right. Yeah, well, we'll have some questions.
Yeah, all right, that's a good idea.
Here's another question from that vast audience out there. Incidentally, if you have any more questions, get them up here and we'll try and answer them. You can see how fully we answer these questions. Please fully explain the dry chicken bones mentioned earlier. I'll take a little bit of a hand at that, and anybody else want to join in? Do what? Okay, come on up, Hill, and see if your story varies from mine, all right? There were these 3 guys in the 5th floor window, James Jarman, Bonnie Ray Williams, and Harold Norman, and they had lunch down there. And are you going to dispute me?
Nope.
Okay.
We had 2 sets of chicken bones in the school book depository. When we went into the building to search it, and we got there before Captain Fritz did, so we did police procedure. There was an officer named Roy Westfall. There were 2 deputy sheriffs. One of them name was Mooney. I do not remember the other one's name. Myself and a uniform officer. We went to the top floor, which was the 7th floor. We checked the roof. We came back to the 7th floor. We searched it. We left the uniform officer on the 7th floor so that anybody in the building could not double back on us and get behind us in an area we'd already cleared. We went down to the 6th floor, and at that point, Mooney found the barricade that would have sealed off the window from the view of the rest of the 6th floor. We found the boxes that he had used for an armrest, and on top of this barricade type thing was a paper sack with some chicken bones in it. Now, we found these on the 6th floor. I went down to the street to get the crime lab. At that point is when we met Fritz at the front door. I explained to him what we found. He went in the building. I went out to report to the senior officer at the location. We stopped our investigation when we found the spot where the shots were fired from, and later on the same floor, on the 6th floor, where the rifle was found. The people talking about getting in the building later, when we got all the physical evidence out of there, we got the fingerprints, we got the hulls, we got the rifle, then we had no more use for the school book depository because we couldn't take it to court.
Okay, but you say the bones, you found them on the 6th. I thought they were on the 5th.
We went to the 5th. There could have well been some down there, which I understand there were.
Yeah, because that's where...
I'm not disputing the fact there were on the 5th floor also, but these were not, didn't play a big part in it other than that was the first thing he saw he could take a picture of, as he said this morning.
Okay.